Alright, hello again. This is game one of the Blue-Black Mystical Teachings deck versus the Black-White Pestilence deck. The Black-White Pestilence deck runs engines like Pestilence obviously, and Guardian of the Guild Pact, which is an absolute beating to deal with for most decks. Most removal, creatures, everything like that in Pauper are single coloured, so if you can stick say a bone splitter or really any kind of equipment or power toughness pump on the Guardian, you can ride it pretty quickly. The fact that they run the Pestilence as well, obviously the Pestilence doesn't affect the Guardian, so you end up with basically a wrath every turn plus a burn spell, and they couple this engine with a whole mess of draw cards, gain life spells like Aven Riftwatcher, Renewed Faith to draw cards and gain some life when they cycle. A couple of pro-black guys, basically just to make Pestilence as one-sided as possible. So let's have a look at how we get on. So you can see our opening hand isn't particularly exciting, but we've got a Brainstorm and a Shuffle effect, and we draw into our counter spell, so it's looking pretty good. Obviously we don't know at this point that our opponent is on the Pestilence deck. There's a couple of decks that run these Kabira Crossroads, generally run things like Core Skyfisher to pick them back up and gain more life. The Pestilence deck is the more common one that runs them, so we're pretty sure, and upon our opponent dropping Swamp, we're certain that our opponent is on the Pestilence plan. So we're just going to Brainstorm into another counter spell and a fetch land and shuffle and cycle our Twisted A-Bomb. He's cycling a few Renewed Faiths, gaining a few life, and we've drawn Condescend and more fetch lands. Cards like Aven Riftwatcher, they're not something that we would usually deign to interact with, but the fact that we've got the Condescend and a bunch of counter spells means that we're actually going to choose to do something with it. The fact that it'll let us see our next couple of draws as well is pretty big. So we ship a Swamp and keep a Prohibit on the top of our library. We don't need any more lands. We've got plenty. We want to start drawing some action, something to actually close this game out. So he cycles the Renewed Faith. We're just going to fetch, rip another Condescend. And continue to draw a whole bunch of nothing. Serrated Arrows isn't something that's particularly good against us, so we're fine letting it sit on the board. I find with this deck, once you've actually stabilised, certainly in the control mirrors, it doesn't really matter what life total you're at. So Serrated Arrows, it's going to shrink a couple of guys, maybe kill one or two, but the fact that we've got the Grim Harvest in hand means that we're not too fussed about that. So we Grim Harvest, get back Twisted Abomination, and we're just going to cycle it away again. We want to thin out our lands from our deck and try and actually draw some mess. Guardian of the Guild Pact is not something that we're going to let resolve, so we're going to Condescend it. We see Muldrifter and Brainstorm, we're going to stack it so that we've got the Muldrifter on top. We make a pretty savage misplay here in not leaving a Swamp open for the Grim Harvest. It's probably not something that we're gonna, actually require in this game, but it's pretty bad. What we should have done is either tap extra island. My thinking was essentially that I want to hold double counter spell up if he goes Pestilence plus Guardian next turn, but that's not entirely necessary. We only really need to cast it to counter one of those spells, so just a pretty bad play there. So my apologies for punting so savagely. How embarrassing, it's on camera. So we rip into the Brainstorm plus the other island here, the Guardian of the Guild Pact. We're going to counter that. And we're just going to sit back. We've got no reason to another Brainstorm at this point, so we'll just sit back and fill up our hand with them some more cards. Obviously with the pro buff the top, he's only got 3 cards in hand, so it's pretty powerful. Now got 2 brainstorms in hand, and our opponent is essentially playing off the top. Here comes Pestilence. Obviously we've got another counter, so we brainstorm to make think that we're weak here. What I've done, because again he's playing off the top, 0 cards in hand, has played the Pestilence and has a Disciple of Grace, the black guy. Because I brainstormed into a Guess Verdict, what I'm going to do is let the Pestilence resolve. As you can see, you need creatures in play at the end of turn for Pestilence to stick around. So rather than wasting another counter spell, I'm just going to take the 1 damage from the Disciple, and I'll Guess Verdict it on my turn. And at the end of my turn, his Pestilence will die. He's tapped out in terms of black mana to actually get these spells to resolve, so we don't need to worry about hanging about after turn, and he's not going to get any damage out of it. Draw into a fetch land again is pretty good, but the counter spell we're really going to want to get rid of it, so we're going to wait and draw another card, see what it is. Here's an island. We're not going to play it if we want it to be brainstorm fodder. Even Rift, which again I said earlier, it's not something we're going to interact with. It doesn't, impact the board in any meaningful way. We're going to lose a couple of life from it, but really, who cares? Doomblades the Muldrifter, and we don't need that many threats. We need to stick. If we rip into mystical teachings, if we rip into mystical teachings, we can go and get Spire Monitor. So we brainstorm, shuffle away some chaff. We won't really need 1 mystical teachings. We don't necessarily need the second one in our hand. So we put away teachings for Spire Monitor. We draw Muldrifter, another counter spell. So we've now got 3 counter spells, a Spire Monitor that he knows about, and a couple of Doomblades. It's quite hard at this point to see a route that leads to us losing this game. So just hooks in for a couple of damage. Plays cards like Wall of Faith again. This is a really good card with Pestilence against decks like Goblins and decks that don't just fly over the top. Cast a Rifter, trip Doomblade, trip into spell. His aim Riftwatcher's about to go, been back up to 29 life, but I fail to see how losing this game. He's got the 4th Pestilence, so we just prohibit it. Is that the 5th? Let's check. 1, 2, 3. No, the 3rd Pestilence. I beg your pardon. 3rd Pestilence. So we're just going to swing with the Air Force. Again, this is another questionable play. What I should have done here was teachings for teachings and respond to him trying to kill the Spire Monitor, go get the Capsize to bounce it back so that we could start again. We're still swinging for 5. He can't reliably kill he's not going to be able to kill the Spire Monitor. We know that his last card in hand is a Kabira Crossroads, so we're not too fussed. We're making some pretty embarrassing plays here, so again, apologies for being so bad at this game. Rip on the things, obviously. Forgive our earlier aggressions. Castigate, we're not going to let him see our hand. Just going to counterspell it. He's got to know at this point. There's no way he's getting back into this game. Obviously, just concedes. When you get your opponent to the stage where he's playing off the top and you've got a card advantage engine like teachings, going, then the writing's pretty much on the wall, and we can't fault our opponent for just going to game 2 here. Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.